Namaste. Welcome to Astro Saraswat, and let us today discuss about India's Rahu Mahadasha. So many people have requested for us to make a video on the Rahu Dasha of India, which India is going to go into in the year 2032 after it moves out of its Mars Mahadasha, which has just recently started and about which we have already made two videos which you can go and check out. Now, for Rahu Mahadasha, first of all, let us discuss what is a Mahadasha. So, Mahadasha is a major time period which is used in predictive astrology, in Vedic astrology, which helps us understand how the upcoming time period is going to be like. So, a Mahadasha is ruled by one particular planet which sets the background, we may say, or which sets the mood, the color, the flavor for an entire time period. Each planet has a different length of their Mahadasha. For example, Mars is a 7-year long Mahadasha, after which Rahu is going to be an 18 years long Mahadasha. Within these Mahadashas come Antardashas, right? So each Mahadasha is going to have an Antardasha for each of the 9 planets. So there's going to be Rahu, and then Rahu Jupiter, Rahu Saturn, and so forth. And these sub-periods, also known as Antardashas, which further give information about how a particular phase within that Mahadasha is going to be like. Now, well, you can well imagine, if there's an 18-year long time period, that's not going to be the same. Life is never the same, even for 18 days, what to speak of 18 years. So the Antardashas give us additional information. Within those Antardashas, of course, then there are Pratyantar Dashas, Pran Dashas, and Sukshma Dashas as well, which give even more detailed information. So that is basically how Mahadashas work. Now there is also the concept of Dasha Lagna, where we put the Dasha Lord in the first house in the Lagna of the chart. In this particular situation for Rahu Mahadasha, the Dasha Lagna is going to be the same as the Lagna Kundli of India, because Rahu is in the first house in the Lagna Kundli of the nation, which is made based on the date of independence, the 15th of August 1947 at 12 a.m. in New Delhi. And this Lagna Kundli of India has Taurus as its ascendant sign, as its rising sign. Taurus is a very wonderful sign actually, but we'll discuss the chart of India as it is some other time. Right now we are focusing on the Rahu Dasha. Now we have discussed about what Dasha really is. Let's discuss now about what kind of a planet is Rahu. So it always helps to first understand the nature of a particular planet, because once we understand the nature of the planet, then only we can say what kind of an effect is the planet going to have in a particular house, or when the dasha of that planet is going on. So to start with Rahu, let's have a little bit of a backstory, right? Rahu originally is a part of the personality named Swarabhanu, which was eventually cut into 2 parts. The reason why Swarabhanu was cut into 2 parts and became Rahu and Ketu is because during the Samudra Manthan, which was performed by the Devatas and the Danavs, they combined their efforts in order to churn the milk ocean for receiving nectar, the drink for immortality. That was the purpose of doing the Samudra Manthan. For the Samudra Manthan, they had the Mandara mountain as a churning rod. Bhagwan Vishnu took the form of Kurma avatar to be the base underneath the churning rod, so that the churning rod does not get stuck in the sand of the ocean. So the rod, Mandar mountain, was placed on the back of Kurma, and using Vasuki snake, the demigods and the demons, they were churning the milk ocean. They got many kinds of ratna, jewels, or gifts from this process of churning the milk ocean, some of which are famous as Airavat, came from the ocean, the carrier of Indra. Lakshmi Devi also, she is the daughter of the ocean, so she also appeared from the churning of the milk ocean, there were many other blessings also which were received, many other gifts, valuable assets which were received from the churning of the ocean. Even the poison which Lord Shiva drank, and because of which he got the name Nilkant, that also came from this churning of the milk ocean. At the end of this process, as a final result of the churning of the milk ocean, came Dhanvantri with the pot of Amrit. Dhanvantri is the father of Ayurveda. He is the one who established the Ayurvedic practices. He is the one who is a god for medicine. Now, when the Amrit came, the demons and the demigods started fighting among each other about who is going to, take the Amrit. So this argument started happening. They were kind of, pulling it from each other's hands. At that time, Lord Vishnu took the form of Mohini avatar, and with her charm and beauty and her elegance, she convinced the Daityas and the Devas to give her the pot of Amrit, and she would fairly distribute it among all of them. So, being totally enamored by her, they all agreed. And the Devatas, of course, understood that it was Bhagwan Vishnu and he was there for their benefit to help them. So Mohini made the Daityas and the Devatas sit on two sides, and she, in her charming, alluring way, was walking among them and dancing and totally just stealing away their minds, so that they were not aware about what she was actually doing. And what she did was, she was giving the Amrit only to the Devatas, because naturally she did not want the Daityas to become immortal, to have any sort of a powerful influence in the world, because of which she was distributing it primarily, or not primarily actually, only to the Devatas. Now, one of the demons named Svarabhanu understand that something was not quite right, and there was some sort of a cheating going on. So he disguised himself as a demigod and went and sat with Surya and Chandra. Now, Surya and Chandra did not initially realize it, and Mohini gave him the Amrit as well. So Swarabhanu had the Amrit and became immortal. However, Surya and Chandra then realized that this is not one of us. He is not a Devata, rather he is a demon disguised as a demigod. So they informed Mohini about it, and Mohini took her chakra, ultimately she is Bhagwan Vishnu, and cut the head of Swarabhanu, which eternally divided the demon into two parts, the head and the body. The head is Rahu, the body is Ketu. Now, because he had already had Amrit, so he is immortal, cannot possibly die. But at the same time, the chakra of Bhagwan Vishnu is infallible. It will not go without fulfilling its mission. So the mission was fulfilled. The body of Swarabhanu was divided into two. And therefore, this personality is now eternally present as two beings, and was given a position amongst the Navagrahas to influence our lives. Now, when we think about Rahu, which is just the head, we can get to know about the nature of Rahu, or the influence that Rahu is going to have in a person's life and chart, based on what does this signify. So when there's just the head and the body is not there, so the person is not able to act, do anything, doesn't have hands and feet to really move about and do anything. The only thing that the person can do is think. The person tends to overthink a lot, because that's the only thing the person is doing. So thinking leads to overthinking. So Rahu brings a lot of overthinking. Rahu brings a lot of illusion as well, because when we start thinking too much, very often the thoughts are no longer valid. They are just made up things. There's illusion. Because of this overthinking, a small problem appears to be huge. There's a famous saying in Hindi, Rai ka pahad banana, right? To make a mustard sized problem into a mountain. That is exactly what Rahu does. And it creates a lot of illusion. Things seem to be much more exaggerated than what they actually are. Now, the other thing is that Rahu has a mouth, but it doesn't have a stomach. So, if you think about it, you can feed Rahu whatever you want, it just comes out of his throat. There's a lack of satisfaction. His stomach is never really full, right? And because of that, the person is always wanting more. There's this desire of wanting more, there's this greed, there's this hunger. Now, it is a demoniac planet, so it will also give a certain amount of trouble. It's the nature of problematic people, it's the nature of bullies to give trouble to people. So, Rahu definitely does give a certain amount of trouble, which is exaggerated because of the overthinking and the illusion and the exaggeration of everything. At the same time, there's a lot of materialistic nature. It's not considered to be a very elevated planet. It's more concerned about the base human needs, the fulfillment of our sense enjoyment. That is the kind of mood that Rahu brings. Another thing which Rahu also represents is everything which is foreign. Rahu is considered to be an outcast, which means that everything which is different from our culture, from our system, from our ancient way of doing things, everything which is different is ruled by Rahu. Now, one of the very important things actually is IT, technology, AI. All these things would be ruled by Rahu, along with Mercury as well. Mercury is also a part of it, but Rahu is one of the main planets which influences everything which is foreign. And it also represents foreign nations, foreign cultures, foreign traditions. Everything which is different, which is foreign, is represented by Rahu. And there can be very sudden things happening with Rahu. Sudden, unpredictable things happening with Rahu. I'm not talking good or bad. The other thing is also good and bad is very subjective. What is good for someone might not be good for the other. What is bad for someone might not be bad for the other, right? We're just talking about sudden changes. We're talking about bigger than life kind of things happening. Right? That is the nature of Rahu. Now, talking about the Mahadasha of Rahu, which is going to start in 2032, these things are going to have an impact on the way India and the people of India are going to act and perceive life and do things in general, because Rahu is sitting in the first house. So when a planet is sitting in the first house, it's going to impact the entirety of the chart, right? Because the first house is like the crux, is like the center. It's one of the most important places in the chart, and Rahu being over there is going to impact the very personality, the very core of the nation. So during this Rahu Mahadasha, India is first of all going to feel like there are big problems, even though the problems will actually be small. But because of overthinking and illusions, it will seem like there's a lot of problems, right? There's a lot of exaggeration, there's also a lot of illusion. Things will appear to be different than what they actually are. Can go either way, good or bad. But perception will be influenced by Rahu. The truth will be influenced by the illusion of Rahu. Other thing is also the Lagnesh, Lord of Taurus, Venus, is sitting in the third house of communication, media. Rahu itself is also related to media. So there can be a lot of illusion created and miscommunication happening because of media, because of the news and whatnot, all sort of media. There is also going to be a lack of satisfaction among the people in general. People will just want more. Greed will come. The desire to accumulate more. Consumerism will increase. People will just constantly want to consume more products and services, and increase their status in society, and wanting more. The hunger will be there. Now, it depends from which perspective do you want to see it. On one hand, from the material perspective, people will definitely advance in their status, they will advance in their facilities in life, because that is what Rahu will give. It will give this illusionary success and illusionary sense of accomplishing more, that will be there. But on the other hand, it is giving dissatisfaction, right? Because we're constantly wanting more. No matter how much you achieve, the stomach is still not getting full. Instead of one, you have 5 cars, the satisfaction is still not there because of Rahu. Now, this is the problem. What can a person do about it? Everybody has to endeavor and attempt towards being more content, being more satisfied, being more grateful for the things which are already there in life. Right? That is very important. It is important also to see what can a person do about it. Now, the other thing is that there will be a certain amount of materialistic nature. Like we were discussing in the Mars Mahadasha, that the society is moving more towards being spiritually inclined, Sanatani, and people feeling proud about their culture. During the Rahu Dasha, that might not happen. It might go the opposite direction actually. Reason being because people are attracted to everything foreign. And we can see actually that Rahu is there in the first house in the Lagna Kundi of the country. And unfortunately, there has been this whole trend of wanting to be more like the foreign nations, wanting to be more modern in our way of presentation. Unfortunately, not many are proud of their culture, which we should be. We have such a rich culture. But the inclination, because Rahu is there in the first house, everything foreign seems to be very attractive. The desire to be more modern is there. So during the Rahu Dasha, this will be even more intensified. This desire to be modern, this desire to be more like a Western country, or like a so-called first world, modern country, that desire will be there. And in efforts and endeavors will be there in made in that direction, and it will be achieved also to a certain level. Whether it is good or bad, that I will let you decide. Um, because it's very subjective. Everybody will have a different opinion about it. There is going to be a pretty good increase in IT and technology sector because it's ruled by Rahu. So there will be a lot more happening in those regards. The nation will be really online and much more tech savvy. Everybody will be. Can't say that this doesn't have its own downsides. There might be more redundancies, joblessness because of technology taking over a lot of the things which people do. That naturally follows along with a boom in the IT sector, but definitely we can expect that to happen. Now, there might also be some confusion in regards to identity crisis kind of a situation, because there's a fight between becoming Western, or becoming modern foreign influences and our own culture as well. So that kind of a confusion and fight will also be there. Also, the fact that Rahu is aspecting the ninth house of spirituality and religion, and again, the influence of a outcast. Rahu is basically referred to as an outcast. That influence on the ninth house of spirituality and religion, that will bring about that shift where people will be confused about their own beliefs, unfortunately, and we might see a reduction in the way people are going to be inclined towards spirituality. So I would really say that we should utilize the Mars Dasha as much as possible to have a solid foundation in our spiritual lives, in our spirituality, before the Rahu Dasha comes in, where there will be foreign influences, there will be Western influences trying to distort us from our true identity and our true, connection that which we have with our culture. Because of the desire of wanting more and the desire of achieving more, which people will be able to, definitely there will be expansion and global recognition as well. Rahu really expands things. So India's global image is going to expand. There's going to be a lot of increase in the attention which India gets also. But we have to make sure that along the lines we don't lose our cultural roots. That is something which we have to put an effort towards. Now, Rahu is also, like mentioned before, a problematic planet. It's a Krur Graha, it's a demonic planet. So, some of the other troubles can be expected, definitely. They will be exaggerated because of Rahu, but troubles will be there factually as well. The fact that Rahu is in Kritika Nakshatra, which is ruled by the planet Sun and is represented by a sword and has cutting abilities, Rahu might cause certain sort of breaks in old patterns and old way of thinking, which could ultimately lead to better improvement in the society. Definitely, it could lead to that. However, it might also cut some old valuable ties with our culture and lead us more towards materialistic kind of life. That is very much possible. For those who are spiritually inclined, it is an excellent time to surrender, to learn to depend on God and His plan. It's going to be an excellent time for that, because Rahu does not always let things happen the way we want them to happen. There is obstruction, right? And when we surrender the desire to be the controllers of what is happening in life, at that time Rahu stops giving us these kind of obstructions or troubles, and that surrender can definitely be helpful in our individual spiritual practices. So we should practice surrender. We should be prepared to deal with the kind of effect that Rahu is going to have. Rahu's aspect is going to be on the 5th, 7th, and 9th houses. 5th house of education, I think more and more people will be learning about technology, will be learning about modern sciences, will be learning about AI and computer based things that will increase. There will be also strained relationships to some extent, or rather not even strained, I would say illusionary relationships. It's aspecting the 7th house of relationships, partnerships, can also be international trade transactions and whatnot. It is influenced by this planet which represents illusion. So those who seem like friends might ultimately be rivals, and those who seem like rivals might ultimately be like friends. So that sort of an illusory influence on the relationships will be there during the Rahu Mahadasha. The effect on the 9th house we have already discussed, how it will affect the nation's spirituality, understanding, and cultural connection that there is. Also, 9th house represents Bhagya. Any sort of an association or connection with the 9th house is always considered to be fortunate. So there will be Bhagya, there definitely will be some good fortune, but the kind of good fortune that will be there will be more of a Rahu natured thing. So fortunate in the sense that even if it is temporary and illusory, there will be good image of the nation. There will be a boom in the way the country is perceived in the world, in the trade of the country. There will be a boom, there will be an improvement for sure. So it's always a mixed bag. There are going to be some benefits, but there are also going to be some challenges involved. About the antardashas, there will be a lot of different effects happening because of the antardashas within this Rahu Mahadasha, and at the same time the transiting planets, the gochar of the planets will also have an additional effect on the actual real outcome that happens during that time period. However, we will make a separate video for that, otherwise we'll be pressed for time. It will end up being a very long video, and also there's yet a lot of time till the Rahu Dasha really starts. But this is an overall view of what is coming up, what can we expect in the Rahu Mahadasha starting in 2032. Let me know, what do you think about the Rahu Dasha which India is going to go through in 2032, and where is your Rahu placed in the chart? Do you know about that? Because everything that we have discussed would also apply to somebody who has Rahu in the first house of their Lagna Kundli, or even in the Navamsha Kundli. That would also have a strong impact or somebody who is going through a Rahu Mahadasha will also experience the effects of Rahu. Do let us know if you're going through a Rahu Dasha and how has it been so far. And do subscribe for many more interesting videos. Stay tuned, share, and comment. Thank you. Namaste.